I'm ready, Wrath.
There was a whole conversation about should we prepare for these things or should we just wing it? And Pickles was like, "What? Let's wing it." And so then we'd show up, and I was like, "Okay, what are we doing?" And Pickles was like, "I don't know.
Magical
We didn't
weapons
prepare
and
anything."
items. How do you
And I
feel
was like,
about
"Huh?
them?
Yeah, we didn't fucking prepare anything. You're goddamn right, we didn't." But today,
Yeah.
we do have another topic for you here on Drinks and Discussions, the RPG podcast. This is where a bunch of us nobodies get around and pretend to be somebody. Basically, it's an open table discussion where people from the Discord, mainly treasured community members, people who I trust, are allowed to come on stream and we sit around this open table and discuss things related to RPGs. Today, that being, what was it? Oh yeah, audience engagement and involvement and interaction within a TTRPG campaign or game just in general. So the way that works is it's not like, hey, do the audience just get to join the stream and play a character? No. Cause no. What this is, hey, they want to, I'm just gonna go to extremes. They want to, they paid $50 and they get to kill one of the characters. Or they paid $5 and one of you guys is getting some mail from home with a little gift in it. And you got like, hey, I just got 10 silver coins from mom. Like, or whatever the case may be. It's audience engagement to where they can interact with the stream, which would then boost you guys. Or hinder you guys or something. Maybe they provide a riddle, and if you guys solve this riddle, you get whatever they put in there. And we recently had a riddle. It didn't go well. Adise, you weren't even there for this. They came across a riddle to a thing.
I solved that riddle.
Well, with a sword. Oh no, with a foot through the door.
Yes, it turns out foot was the solution to wooden door.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Welcome
There
into the
wasn't
chat,
actually.
everyone. Lazy, I'm gonna say lazy. I don't know if it's Lazzy, but hello and welcome. Tiger, hello and welcome. Appreciate y'all being here. So I'm gonna open it up to the table again. What we're discussing today is audience involvement and engagement and interaction to a TTRPG, D&D game, campaign, so on and so forth. So as I open it up to the table, everyone cheers. Welcome to Drinks and Discussions. Woo! Let's get started. So, who wants to go first? Who has thoughts on this? I have plenty, but I will stop rambling and let someone else.
Just on user like engagement in general, like
everything I just talked about.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I think it'd be interesting. I think it could get out of hand really fast, but I think it'd be interesting. Yeah, it's one of those things that if you could pay $50 and kill somebody off, it would be really annoying. But I know that was the extreme option, but it's just
Oh, it's happened.
I was gonna say I brought that up because it happened.
Yeah, no. Be mad if that was my character that gets killed off for $50.
We did this. We used to do this. I've seen it, good and bad. And we did it, and it turned bad, and there was reasons why we stopped doing it altogether. However, I noticed back when we were doing it, we had a lot more engagement, a lot more people watching our TTRPGs. Now that we don't do it, I mean, granted, I don't have many viewers anymore anyway, but regardless, like, I was watching other people's games, and they have a lot of engagement. One that I recently watched was it was actually a Pokemon campaign that we were playing in, and they got into a tournament, and some of their Patreons and stuff got to create some of the teams that they had to fight against, and like come up with ideas like, oh, this would be a really cool battle schematic. Like if this guy and this guy did like they connected together and did like this kind of tactic, and they got to come up with these cool ideas that then the players had to engage with. And I was like, I feel like that would be something cool to where you could have community involvement with the player's game, and it kind of gets everyone involved. So that's why I brought up the topic, but that's kind of the premise. Carry on with thoughts.
Yeah, I don't think that would be so bad. That's an interesting thing to think about,
Yeah, I think kind kind of bringing it back to drinks and discussions, I think that you can kind of liken it to alcohol. A little bit opens things up, makes things very, can make it bubbly, a little bit enjoyable, but too much of it and things get pretty sour pretty fast. The one example that I can think of is when they did implement a like pay for a player's death situation in one of the podcasts that I used to listen to. The way that the DM handled it was he once they received that donation, and they set it at much higher than $50.
This chat immediately said they're like, that better be way higher than $50. I don't personally. I don't think I would allow that option at all because like. If Adarag was just killed and then you have to come back and make a new character and stuff, that's not fair to you. You didn't even get the $50 I did. So, like, that's not fair at all.
But the way that the DM handled it in that situation was once they received that donation, it was worked out with the player as to how the transition out was going to happen. So it wasn't an immediately, like, next session the player dies sort of thing. It was more so they did a bit more planning to it, and they had to do a bit more delayed gratification for the Patreon members to do that.
I could see that if like we as a group sat down and were like, hey, for this campaign, this is one of the options. Are you guys okay? If your character ends up getting killed off, we can do a whole story arc for how that happens. And then that will like issue in your new character and stuff. But that would have to be something that everyone would agree to beforehand. And as I've said, it's not something that I'm personally interested in, so I don't know why I would ever bring it up or agree to it. But I feel like if you were to go that route, that's probably what you would have to do.
Yeah, another thing that you would want to discuss in like a session 0, if that's the case.
Yeah, absolutely. Is because if like, say we're playing a game and Pickles joins, and all of a sudden I'm like, Pickles' character dies, and he's like, why? And I'm like, because I got $20. He's like, this isn't why I fucking signed up. Like
$20 is $20.
Yeah, like he would probably be a little upset.
Why is it cheaper to kill me?
It's only $20. Well, it was $50. They offered me $20. I just said, yeah. I haven't gotten a donation in like a year, so.
I really need the money.
That would be an interesting way to do it, though, would be to start the campaign at like a very high price point threshold, and it decreases over time, and then that would be an incentive for the player to try to almost break the game in a way to try to avoid that killing blow that might come sooner and sooner and sooner.
Yeah, I think it would be funny if like they paid and it's like, I paid to kill this player, but it's really you're hiring a hitman. So now there's a hitman chasing Adarag, and Adarag has to like fight him off and have like friends help him out. So you might pay to like, I pay to kill Adarag, and it might be Adarag dies, but it might be now Adarag has a hitman after him, and Grunkle has to protect him, and maybe Grunkle cuts down the hitman. Oh well, your hitman died. Sorry.
I know you paid some good money for that hitman, but he
died. Pay more. Get a better hitman. I don't know. So that's just obviously one idea of community involvement and engagement, but obviously there's tons of options, and I guess what we should do is first discuss, do we think there should be any or none, and if there's any, then we could come up with ideas of what there could be. Pickles?
Yeah, I have a general like 3 categories of how I've seen this work. And the first one we talked about a bit, which I call the joke creative category, where people can say what they want to have happen, or they get a major influence, like killing off a character, when there's only one character in Mr. Pickles' campaign, so the entire campaign ends because one person paid a little bit of money. It's like, well, fuck me then. But so I'm not keen on those. I'm also not keen on ones where it dictates player behavior, because I remember somebody playing a serious gladiator.
I was gonna say, didn't my character Deus die because of?
Yes, but before that,
oh,
before that, you went into a town with a mission, and they're like, okay, we got the threshold, we want to pay you this much, and you have to pretend you're carrying a fish, and you have to vigorously sell it to everybody you meet, even though there's no fish. And you're like, Okay. Everybody you'd approach, you'd be like, so just ignore what I'm about to say. I'm gonna say something, ignore it, and then I'll move. Then I'll say things that I mean. Everybody's just like, what the hell is wrong with you? It's funny, but like that category should only be for joke campaigns where you're making randomized characters. And like,
yeah, I think that would be absolutely something I would implement if you did this. Is you would have one menu, we'll call it, for joke games, and like, you know, what was the
Def Wong.
Def Wong? Thank you. Yeah, the Def Wong guy.
Oh,
We would have one menu for joke games like that, and then we would have one menu that would be like for King's Crossing. Like, we're not gonna make Torvekik have to walk around in a dress the entire game. Like, that's not fair to his character. I mean, he probably would do summer dress.
That's my first category, the joke creative, and I think that one does get a lot of engagement, but you just gotta have to be in the mood for like a joke throwaway game. And I think for people who really like TTRPGs, that's sort of a why don't we just play a board game kind of feeling. But my second category, and the one that is in the Saturday game I'm in, is just being able to donate, and you can give a luck point, or for those who play our Y-hander game, fortune point, or Savage Worlds, Bennies, anything that gives you a reroll, so to speak. Just being able to donate that to any given person, including the storyteller. So that kind of covers that category of, do I want to be up to mischief with my money, or do I want to actually be a team player and support one of the cool guys on screen?
Yeah.
Or gals.
Like, some of the ideas I had brainstormed was, so for King's Crossing, for anyone who hasn't seen it, that's my campaign that I run. These guys are all players in it, including, as well as some others. But we have fortune points, and fortune points allow them to, as long as they have a fortune point, they can re-roll. But if they use that fortune point and re-roll, it gets flipped over to a misfortune point, which then I get to use for either enemies or allies. I've used it for allies as well to help them out. But basically, some of the ideas I came up with was they could, you know, donate to basically flip a misfortune back to a fortune point. So I don't get to use it, and it goes back to your guys' side. Or the opposite. Flip a fortune point over to a misfortune point, so now it's for me. Again, that doesn't always screw you. I might use it to, you know, shoot acid bile at Torvekik, or I might use it to have Alexios push him out of the way and get hit instead, so that Torvekik doesn't die again. I don't know. But so that was like an idea. Or they could donate maybe more money. You know, I would have to come up with prices for all this stuff, but you would donate more money, and it just adds an extra fortune point to your game. So now, instead, like with, say, Nimwort and Adarag, Adarag played by Adis up there in the corner, you guys only have 2 players in the game, which means you only get 3 fortune points. Mm-hmm. Whereas in their game, they have 3 players, so they get 4 fortune points. So they have more options to use them. In your game, they could just add an extra one, so now you have 4 fortune points in your game, because one of them, you know, they gifted an extra fortune point to your game. So that could be like things that they could like bless your characters with. Or, hey, I paid to give a blessing to Torvekik, so he gets to choose when he does something awesome and he feels like he's, you know, kind of earned it, he can immediately turn one of his dice into it explodes. So like he rolls and that one immediately explodes and gets to do something awesome. And so I don't know. I figured there's ideas that you could throw in that could be fun, useful, helpful. The other idea that I brought that I was thinking about is, so we don't really have them anymore, but we used to have subscribers, which pay $5 a month. I get a portion of that.
I'm still a subscriber.
I appreciate that. So we have subscribers, and the subscribers should get some perks. And so I thought, what if they had, like, each month they would get an allotment of things, like maybe each month they could bless a character one time. So each month that would refresh, and so they could bless, you know, Grunkle this month, and the next month they want to bless Adarag or whatever. And so they give you guys, you know, each month they would have like that perk that they could drop on you guys. Or, you know, have a couple of different perks that are small but still helpful. I mean, being able to immediately explode a die is not bad, especially, you know, if you guys roll, and you're like, oh, I did a super awesome hit, and I crit, and I did 2 damage. No,
Yeah.
I explode that, you know? So that's 2 kind of avenues that I went down with my thoughts, is ideas for things we could do, and then different ways we could split it up to where, like, subscribers could have a little allotment of things that they get to give, where, and then, you know, there could be bigger donations, like I pay $50 and I want to create an NPC that gets to meet the players. Maybe he's a merchant. They haven't run into a merchant. They really want to buy some stuff. Can I create a merchant NPC? Sure. You know, things like that. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts?
I think, and this is no offense to you or anybody who enjoys this, I think that's boring, especially when we just talked about like the joke creative ones where you actually have influence. The idea of just giving a static, generally positive boost to somebody is just kind of impersonal, and I don't know. I'm not the target audience for this, but I feel like if I was, I'd say that's not enough to like justify spending $1. Like I should have some more influence over the story if I'm going to pay money, right? And that's where I think the third category, we've kind of touched on it a little bit, is specifically tailored things that are unique and interesting to the adventure itself. Like for my campaign, Strange Town of Golden Ridge, I was floating around the idea a few months back to like, what would I do if that was the case? And one of the thoughts that came to mind is a van full of mimes appear reinforcements. And you guys might be like, dang it, these mimes, but there have been many times, like at the cabin with all the squirrels, where a van full of help probably would have boosted your spirits. But then I thought there are other adventures where that would completely break immersion. It would like be defeating the purpose of the adventure itself. Like there are times to have those things. And so that's why I started thinking, when it's specifically tailored for the adventure, then it becomes like, I believe you were saying earlier, somebody was saying, about being able to like set up the squads that the team is going against. Having it like, so you can pick how the squad is laid out. Here are the types of characters you can pick. You have this if you'd like to do it.
So that you're talking, so specifically that would be more during like a DM's workshop, which is a thing that I used to do. I kind of want to do them again, do them more, where I work on the game on stream, not with my players there, but I mean, you guys can watch if you want, but I work on the game and kind of build things, and that's where they could donate and be like, I want to help work on the, you know, can we do it this way? And they would, is that what you're talking about?
That is an option you could do, but I'm talking more like, if you're on a mission, you're doing something, having a list of 10 different items that could be theoretically chosen. And essentially, if you donate $5, you can choose from these options. Some of them may be very helpful, as our group is stalking through this haunted house. You know, maybe they get some advantages, or if it's a zombie apocalypse, that might be an easier one to argue. They stumble on some much needed goods, would be one. A very cheap one, but even then, you could. It would really depend on the adventure itself, what you offer, but you would have that power to control, like, what level of awful or awesome are you giving the players, tailored to that adventure.
True.
Having like if you're investigating in a town and you're having a really hard time, the players are just not having a great time talking to people, because they think everybody's like not trustworthy because they're acting weird. Having that option of the lone citizen who's willing to spill the beans could be a useful card to play, especially if the players just aren't clicking with it. But then that right there feels like gatekeeping your story.
Yeah, that was one of my thoughts, was limiting their creativity, because maybe they've got some really good ideas, and I'm like, no, you have to choose from my list. And it's like, what if they have a better idea and it helps you guys out, and you guys are missing out because I limited them to, no, you get a shovel or an axe. And they're like, well, this would be a way cooler idea. And I'm like, no.
You could make it more vague and be like, tool. They get a useful tool of some kind.
Oh, yeah,
but,
yeah, true.
That way they have some option over, like, what kind of tool do you want to give them? Or what kind of weapon do you want Grunkle to find lying on the ground? How enchanted do you want it to be?
So, obviously there would have to be a limit. You know, if they pay $1, they don't get to give you the God Sword that can cut open rifts in realms and open realm doors. Like, you know,
$1.25?
Yeah, no. So there would have to be, you know, limits and figure out the, you know, the cost and everything, which would be a whole project in and of itself. But
that's why I limited it to like 10 things for an adventure that you could just any encounter could be dragged and dropped into whatever they're doing on that, and it would be useful.
Well,
that would be something that you could easily have, and
because this is an open world, I mean, things could happen. I mean, they could be like, you know what, Pickles really wants to become a knight, but he doesn't have anyone to squire under. If I pay $100, I get to make my own NPC who gets to be a part of the story. Could I create like a knight character? And I'm like, you know what? We need a knight character. Maybe there's a knight character traveling in the area. It might not happen like that session. I'm just like, now there's a knight here. It would be like, you know, okay, I'm gonna bring him in, work him into the story because a knight character has been created to come into the game. Kind of like what Adis was saying, where it got worked in. You know.
Yeah.
The other thing would be, you know, it wouldn't just be, okay, you find, you know, super amazing epic armor because someone paid $20. It would be, you know, okay, they paid $5. Like, I wanted to give whetstones to everyone in the party because they didn't have them. They couldn't sharpen all their equipment. Okay, everyone, you know, guys got gifted whetstones from the community. And that can also go into a canon kind of storytelling type aspect because you guys are becoming townfolk heroes. And so people...
You've done a really bad job at that.
Or a good job, depending on
people know who you are, and you know it's
not a good thing.
Yeah, it's not a good thing. But you know, you could have fans, and they could, you know, someone could come forward and be like, "Hey, you know, my dad passed away. He had all these whetstones. I have no use for them, but you guys are heroes. You use weapons. Do you want these whetstones?" And you guys could say "fuck off," or you could take all the whetstones, but that would be a gift that someone paid for you guys to be able to have access to. You know, stuff like that. And so, I think it would be like, you know, $5, gift a small item or something, you know. I don't know how in depth you'd want to go with it, you know, gift a tool, gift a weapon, gift an armor, you know. Well, maybe I'm just lazy. Like that I don't want to make a menu that's 14 pages long.
But you might have something where it's like, leave some health potions behind at this point in the, well, that I guess you're talking more simplified version of what I'm talking about, I guess.
Exactly. That's why I'm like, same thing, but you know, maybe they came out, you know, gift a small item. Could I gift a health potion? Absolutely. You know, they will find a health potion that has been gifted to them. There's actually, I will admit something. I haven't technically written this in, but as of literally last episode, recorded yesterday, there is a character who could act as the gift bearer of chat. Someone read a note from him and didn't share it with the party.
And Grunkle can
read. That guy.
Yeah.
I didn't think he was anybody important. I thought he was just...
Yeah, he's just a guy who came across a stash.
Yeah, and stole the shit. I mean, that doesn't seem very...
That guy that I didn't hear about. I like him.
Pretty sure someone's been looking for a stash, but we'll talk about that under the table.
Oh shit. That's funny. We're just like, oh, well, sucks to be the guy who had that stash.
That's under the table talk. But
I have no idea who you're talking about.
How funny would that be? Like, so slight spoilers, someone has a stash now, and they could just be gifting you guys items from the stash that are actually from chat.
You know, that brings up another, like, you could have them donate from certain factions. like the Thieves Guild that I assume this guy is part of, or from smugglers, or from the Wizards Guild, or the Church. You could assign it so that each faction can give different bonuses or a different thing, perhaps, that is beneficial to the plot.
That might work, especially if you incorporate it in a way that you guys haven't met a Wizards Guild. And actually,
We haven't met an Assassin's Guild, but you could have hitmen hired. If you wanted to go the kill a character route, you could have that be an option.
Yeah, I actually kind of like the
never
hitman
forgive you.
idea. No, because I mean, someone runs up and is like, "I've been sent to kill you." Grunk will be like, "I kill you first," you know, and it's like, "Oh,
I've been sent to
sorry."
friend you.
More than likely, my players will probably win because I don't want them to die. So it wouldn't be kill a character. It would be like send a hitman.
So let's not make it so much kill a character as it is send an assassin after them for some arbitrary reason.
That's my point.
It would be incorporated into the game. For example, some members murdered a bunch of guys doing their job, just free men, innocent people who were doing their job, and there was a prisoner who escaped prison, and they just went out to catch him and were massacred and eaten. And now they're like,
up.
"Oh my God, there's a murderer out here just murdering good guard folk. We need to get them." So, I wonder, there could be someone sent out to try and kill you guys because of it, or kill those people.
That would be me. I think I'm the one they hired for that.
Oh, you were hired to kill the person who did that. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna get to the bottom of this detective issue.
Yeah, as he wipes the blood off his mouth.
Oh, I didn't notice it was there. So it was mustard.
But anyways, that's some of my thoughts on. I'll shut up. I've talked a lot. So, what do you guys? What's going on? What are you guys thinking about this?
Well, one thing that I immediately stood out to me when you were talking about those like small items that you could be gifting, part of that could be a little bit of like converting the item shop into dollars amounts. And so, or like the items from this, like taking the case of Zweihander here, they have the list of all the items and like what the prices are in game for like bronze, silver, gold, and we could convert that into some sort of monetary value associated with that. If that's the route you wanted to go for those monetary items, so that way you're not running into $1 for the god sword sort of situation.
Right. Yeah, I do see where you're going with that. That would help for sure. Because that's another thing is if I came into this, I would have to price out this whole thing, and that's where that just sounds like a headache. But maybe that would be a cheat sheet. What do you say?
We want to simplify that while also making it like still influential and interesting to the plot, but not in a way that makes everything a joke or unfun.
One thought I had, I know I said I would stop talking. If anyone else wants to talk, I'll shut up.
Well,
okay. I'm always at risk of ranting about that time they made you do some weird fish shit.
So one thought I had when Pickles was saying, if I'm paying money, I feel like I should have more control. If you go into a strip club and you give a stripper $10, I'm bringing in the sex industry. I apologize, but
you're married to it.
I have influence with it. So, if I pay $10, I don't just get to tell them to do whatever that I want. They still have full control over what they do and what they choose to do and what they choose to, how they choose to act. Just because I put down $1 or $10 or whatever, $100, $200 gives me no fucking rights over them at all. They do what they want to do. I'm just supporting that and donating because I'm like, I enjoy what's happening. I want to continue this and I want to show my appreciation.
Yeah.
That's what it is. The fact that I'm doing that and I get some special attention back is a reward. That's not that this is the sex
you're
industry,
the stripper
but
here in the scenario because you're the streamer.
So if I am performing and someone gives $10, that doesn't mean they get to kill all my characters. They don't have the rights to my, they don't have that kind of power. But if they give $10, I can say, hey, because of that, I get to, we get to do this now. I'm going to work with you and we're going to do this. So, granted, the metaphor or whatever kind of ends there because we're not going in the back room with them. But basically, the idea is, yeah, it's just because you donated $1 doesn't mean you get control over the game. It's you get to support the game, and you get something back from it. People pay for Netflix, people pay for Spotify, people pay for fucking YouTube to be able to support it, to watch their shows and enjoy it. You could watch the shows and have ads and stuff, but you pay and you support it because you want to watch more and you want to enjoy it and you want to consume it. So you could do the same thing with our shows. Granted, we're not Netflix, we're not paid millions of dollars, we're not, quite on that level, but people could support, and it's just giving a reward back if they support. It's not specifically I don't know. There's two ways you could look at it. You could look at it as a business transaction. You pay, you get this. Or it's you donate, and because you donate, we want to show our appreciation, so we're giving back this. Does that make sense? There's like two different ways you could look at it.
Yes.
No?
Yeah, it makes sense. They would get to push things along a little bit, but you're not gonna guaranteed to take them home.
Right, and it's yeah, and it's not like, hey, I donated $5, so I want Pickles to get the God Sword, and I'm like, no, just because you donated $5 doesn't mean you get this. It's I'm going to work with you and reward that donation. Okay, you wanted to bless Pickles. I'm going to give Pickles the thing that I've got that can be $5 worth.
Mm-hmm. What do people even want?
What do you mean?
But when they donate?
Characters? Oh.
Like, I guess that's the problem I'm having is, like, do people actually want to have that kill power? If we're all dancers at this club that is managed by Wrath, like, we could all make our own.
Going on this metaphor now.
We could fill out a checklist in theory. If you knew there was like top 30 things that are requested from your D&D characters, like for this kind of purpose, like what do people like to donate? What makes them happy? Is it the murder? Is it the gifts? Is it benefiting something? Is it interjecting a new character relationship, like a mentor that you mentioned? If we had that, then you could give that to players and be like, what do you consent to? And they could say, you know what? Actually, this character should be killed off by a hitman. I'm down for that. $1,000, but I'm down for that.
I thought I knew where you were going with it, but I wasn't fully on board. I thought you were saying each of the players, you guys create a wish list of, what does Adarag want? And Adarag would be like, oh, I want maybe a merchant character to interact with. I want some money. I want, nicer clothes. And then you have a wish list, and then those wish lists become my, hey, someone donated $5. Which character is that towards? Okay, you hit the money mark needed to get Adarag some fine robes. I'm pretty sure all of his clothes have been basically destroyed. So, yeah, I think didn't Adarag, your clothes
I went down more of the route of what does the customer want, and you went down the route of what do the dancers want.
Yeah.
Adarag is walking around in a steampunk goggles and a duster right now.
That you
Not
stole.
Sure what the
you found
that I stole from a dead man.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you have anything on under the duster because most of your clothes were ruined out in the ocean, weren't they?
Mine were no, because we did clean them up when I got into town.
Oh, you did. Okay.
And laundering myself.
Oh, okay. But wait, yes, so that's the idea that I was thinking.
You know what you could do then with your town of Arwen's Rest is have different people coming into town. Like you could have it be just a list of different travelers who could come and benefit this town. Like you could be like, this is the level for tradesmen, different like people like merchants of sorts. You could get expert level people like an alchemist. Do you want to pay for an alchemist to come to town? Or an experienced artisan type character. You might just have a blacksmith at a lower tier.
Exactly, and I brought that up.
That's
like if somebody's like, hey, they don't have a merchant, I want to create a merchant character that can come in and, okay, we get a merchant, his name is Billy Bob. and he goes by Billy Bob. There's we create a backstory, or he's got a backstory or whatever, and you guys meet, hey, you guys found a traveler along the road. Do you want to engage with him? And you guys are like, yeah. And he's like, hey, I'm Billy Bob. You guys want to buy some of my stuff? I'm trying to, get started as a merchant. I just left home. This is my dream, and I'm trying my best to get started. And you guys are like, we got a place that needs a merchant. And all of a sudden, you guys are getting a merchant. And I'll be like, this is Billy Bob. He was actually created by one of our donators, one of our subscribers.
Yeah, and maybe you can, like you were saying, like you could probably fit that into the players like wants list, and then the DMs like, I should probably add these in eventually list.
Yeah,
and they could make, and the customers somewhere in between. They're really like slim line between those two.
They have to squeeze between us, me and my players.
But yeah, sentiment.
Yeah, and you might be able to then create a system then where you have your different money goals of like making donations to those funds, and they'll build up over time.
Chat has stopped interacting. Go figure. So I'm not getting a whole lot of feedback from them on their thoughts on this, but as far as us on our side of things, it sounds like we're kind of all for it as long as it's in a controlled environment.
Exactly.
Yeah. Control and consent. Little
right. Yeah.
Little CNC.
Little CNC.
Like whiskey. Temperance is needed.
You're doing a good job at being on theme.
This episode brought to you by alcohol.
Drinks and discussion. We're drinking something.
Are you drinking what we're drinking?
Probably not.
Probably not. Okay, so we're just going to run with the idea that we're okay with this and we would want to see it go through. So now we have to figure out how we would want to see it go through. We've come up with a couple different ideas. Some of them kind of seem convoluted, and I'm only saying that in the aspect of, so far, of all the ideas relating to this, I've had to work on everything alone and solo. The wiki, the campaign, obviously, the, da-da-da-da-da. So when it comes to implementing this concept and having to create it, I'm assuming I'm probably going to have to do it by myself. So as much as we're like, hey, you could come up with like 1,000 things and have an entire book of all the different things that they could purchase, I'm not doing that.
No.
Fred brought up the concept of, I don't have time to do a lot of this stuff. Yeah, tell me about it. With my limited amount of time in consideration, how best do we think that we could create a system to showcase this?
I mean, my argument is that it's campaign specific, and I guess also what players are willing to consent to. Like, it's been brought up, kill off character. That's a major consent thing there. Is like, if you killed off Grunkle, I'd be like, I really kind of want to play Grunkle, though. You know that. You know that about me, but you might not know that about a random other person who joins in 3 or 4 months.
Yeah, and I think you kind of did have a good idea at the start there of, I mean, if the players don't want to give you a list of their items, then they don't get a list of things that can happen to them. And
items that they want,
yeah. But then I guess it does kind of put the burden a little bit back on the DM in whatever situation that is, because they then have to come up with the monetary points that you would have to meet for each of those requests.
Yeah.
So maybe, or you could like, if you trust your players enough, you could probably set up something where it is like, hey, at this monetary value, what is something that you feel is appropriate for that level, and try to put some of the responsibility back on your players so they can at least get you close, and then maybe negotiate the last little bits.
Hey, $2,000. The Rockar Legion invades. Grunkle is signed, but he couldn't read.
Going back to what Pickle said, they have to be campaign specific, and I was like, but the more I think about it, I think it would need to be campaign specific, but you could create it in a way to where, say, for King's Crossing, we've created this. when we go over to Strange Town Golden Ridge, Pickles could look at that and be like, okay, I'm also having this, but different. And it would be the same format, but he would pick and choose kind of what, like, maybe I have created an NPC on there, and you guys, different levels of creating an NPC. Maybe create a beggar who just wants to, like, give helpful hints and tips or whatever. Or it could
like
be,
clues to what's going on.
Right, or I want to create a blacksmith who, is, forging them awesome, good quality armor to fund their new castle that they're and arm their guards and stuff. Okay, that would the ruined fort that you guys
we're restoring it brick by brick.
So like different, levels of NPC. Now, when we go over to Strange Town Golden Ridge, Pickles is like, you guys can't create a blacksmith for them to just have in Golden Ridge. Like, maybe that's not something that I create one of the mimes who comes over and gives them all the stuff they need to destroy everything. Like, Pickles is like, that's not gonna work. So he picks and chooses and creates his own, but it's the same format. It's the same, like, we create an overall document that can be bent to the different campaigns. So like, if I ran my Pokemon campaign, obviously it would be, it would be different, but I could use the same general format. So that way, whenever people come into my stream, they would know what to expect. They would know what to look for. They wouldn't have to relearn a whole new system every single time.
Yeah.
But I do agree that it would probably need to be campaign specific in the sense that, not everything's going to fit every campaign. Say you're in King's Crossing, you're not going to have a Tommy gun. I can't just give someone a rocket launcher.
I mean,
somebody has a Tommy gun on their wish list.
Yeah. Fucking Nimwort will probably create one.
Nimwort makes a rocket launcher for
Nimwort, you need to make a Tommy gun for the dwarf.
That's the big problem with Nimwort. Not that this isn't under the table. Nimwort's character literally has the traits where he can basically create anything. He almost always gets crit success, and he can find any materials needed to create it. I'm like, this dude could just be like, I want to build a tank. And I'm like, fuck.
Yes.
All right.
I make it out of mud.
Yeah, it's gonna be made out of like
steel
archaic
mud
materials, and it'll probably take time and effort and resources and money and stuff. But eventually, he'd have a tank, and I'm like, this is terrifying. But anyways, so as far as what this menu or whatever would look like, I think we don't really have time to create this whole thing.
How many options do people really want?
Well, to be fair, we have 0 viewers, so 0. But this is
not giving them 0 options.
Yeah, this is based on the premise that I would have viewers and people would actually enjoy your guys' content that you guys create and want to watch and support. So,
do we need more than like 6 options? Sorry to cut you off.
I don't know. You
like,
can always
in
add
a given
more
situation,
as we think of stuff, but
like I think you could narrow things down to 6 options, and you could have people roll a d6 if they want. You can have them pay more to like select one, but like I mean, it would be tailor made for each storyline. When you're like going on a long trip through the desert, water becomes very valuable, and so you could put that as like a major option of give water.
I don't like that specific. I would have, $5 gift a small item to a character.
Okay.
And
I guess I write my
they
stories
could
more
they could come up
specific.
with an idea, right? But mine's very open world. Yours
Your
is
open world, yeah.
Yeah, yours
I
is very
forget
much
sometimes.
on a like yours is a story. Well, mine's a story, but it's very open world. You guys can explore. So it would be $2 to gift water, $1 to gift this amount of food and stuff. That's just too in depth for me personally. I just don't have the time and effort to go into all that. It would be $5 to gift a small item, and then they would give me an idea like, hey, they really needed to dig up this stuff and have it, but they never had access to Torvekik needs a bunch of tools to be able to build this wall. He's not able to find them anywhere. Could we send a gift to him of some tools? And it'd be like, okay, $5 will get you a small item, so I'll give 1 tool. they'll be like, can I do like $25 and gift him a bunch of sets of tools just in case he doesn't have what he needs? And I'll be like, yeah, let's do it. Like that would work as you know, an idea. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You good, Pickles?
Yeah, I couldn't. I thought I heard my wife come home.
Okay, I was like,
but then I also don't have my phone on me for no reason. So I'm like, normally she texts me.
All right. But yeah, I would go more general with it, and like, I don't know. The way I personally thought I would do it is going back to what I said at the beginning. You would have subscribers who would have like some things that they could do once a month or something. Like, I want to bless this character with an auto explode. So Adarag shoots his rocket, wrist rocket, and boom, auto explode, because maybe, you know, someone does something cool and they want a crit success. You guys get immediate crit success. So Adarag slides between the legs of some monster, comes up on the other side, wants to, you know, kick flip off a guy, go back over and cut the guy's throat behind him or something. And it's like, damn, that would be awesome. Roll for it. No, I'm just gonna crit success because Tiger the Gale gifted me a crit, so I'm gonna take it.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about gifting crits. I mean, it'd be pretty cool, but maybe I don't know if I would want to go that far. You know.
Actually, I've experience with this because in my Saturday group, there's like you can subscribe to Patreon and get like what the storyteller calls heroic points rather than luck points. The heroic point is just it becomes a thing where the party gets to choose like how they spend it. But whatever it is you succeed, you critical succeed. You are awesome at what you're doing here. And it's usually used when like somebody fails a roll or critical fails, where a luck point wouldn't allow you to re-roll. And it's just something where it's like, I really don't want my character to fall on their ass. And
that
it's
would
satisfying.
Be a good one, being allowed to re-roll a crit fail.
Yeah. Well, in this case, that would be beneficial. But in this case, it's like, no, you don't even need to re-roll. You just critical success. It's awesome. And this person is the cause of it. And I will say, it's very satisfying as a player to have it be like, you guys have been donated a heroic point this month. You can use it whenever you want. And being like, you fall so short of what you want to do, and everybody in the group is like, no. I think you need to do this.
Now's the time.
Yeah,
and that's the other thing is, one, it wouldn't be every time you just get to crit success. It would be, maybe we have like, well, right now I've got 0 subs in chat, so you guys don't get any. But say we get a subscriber and they're like, hey, I want to use my 1 this month on Grunkle. I want, at some point this month, he has a flip to crit, you know, roll. And I'll let him know. I'll be like, Grunkle, at some point before the end of the month, you know, hey, we've got 1 session left, so you can use it this session. They gifted it to you. You got a free crit. Use it when you feel like it's used.
That'd be very touching. Somebody would love me that much.
So, like, that would be an option, or, you know, an auto explode. It would be specific things that subscribers, you know, people who are subbed every month, would be able to gift out once a month. You know, I want to gift Adarag a free crit, and I want to gift Torvekik a free exploding die. You know, I've got those 2 things saved up. I haven't spent them on anyone. I want to gift those 2. Okay, I will let them know.
Free stuff.
Yeah, so like there would be that
back on the players to keep track of that stuff.
Yeah, like, hey, you know, Adarag, you've got a free crit to use, and Torvekik, you've got a free exploding die that you can use when you feel like it. And then, so that would be the subscribers would have their specific things that they could gift out. And then there would be the donators, which, again, we don't have any of those either. But if we had donators, they would be able to, you know, I donate $5 and I want to send a letter to Torvekik. He's recently learned how to read and write. He took all the time to do that. Maybe he finally sent a letter back to the Dwarven home. Maybe he gets a letter from home. Can I send him a letter with, like, some money in it? Yeah, absolutely. Maybe someone from home wants to buy him a beer. You know, maybe someone in chat just wants to buy Torvik a beer. They're like, you know what? He really wanted these. Maybe they send you some ale. They send you a water skin with a new ale that you haven't tried. Because they're like, Torvik's been fighting for this, and he hasn't gotten to try any new goddamn ale.
I just want my ale.
Yeah, so, you know, they can do that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on that concept, approach to it?
I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's manageable, which is the important part of any of these decisions. Is that it could be managed by players and the DM fairly easily.
I would almost say there's like 3 parts, 3 or 4. Manageable, it doesn't get out of hand. Enjoyable for audience and viewers, and simple enough to where my dumb brain can work it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because as we've been talking about this stuff, I've been trying to think of how. I mean, we talked about like case by case basis as far as campaign to campaign. I've been trying to think of how I would do it for such a linear storyline like I have set up for Dirty Journey, and there's things that could help, but honestly, I would have to spend a lot more time to think about like how this is something that could be incorporated into that sort of a system. So, yeah, I think those are some good criteria to kind of go by, though, in general, when it comes to doing a crowdsourcing sort of effort in a D&D campaign.
Yeah, I think in something like Dirty Journey, which is, if you guys don't know, it's a mini game aired on our Drinks and Discussions podcast, like we're doing now. I feel like in something like that, it would have to be, you know, since it's such a short amount of time that we have to do this, I feel like it would be Dirty Dreaming? No, Dirty Journey.
Dirty Journey.
Journey. It's the name of his
It's a dream.
mini game. Yeah, it is a dream. Excuse me, I think I misunderstood the name. Dirty Journey is what he said. But in something like that, it's such a short amount of time that's a mini game that we play. Basically, we run this podcast, the Dirty Journey, or Drinks and Discussions is shortened to Dirty. So it became the Dirty Journey, which is just a mini game that we play on this podcast. But anyways, it's just a short amount of time because we only have an hour. That to implement something like that into it, probably kind of tough, but it would probably be something like, hey, this episode someone donated $5 for us to get like a little item, and then by next episode maybe you've thought of something. You'd be like, one of the passengers in your caravan comes forth and was like, hey, you guys are doing such a great job, I just wanted you guys to have this.
Yeah, and that would be really the incorporation point, would be because you guys haven't really interacted with a lot of the passengers.
There's plenty of opportunity there. Okay.
Okay. It was targeted at me.
Me! I tried to eat her! Anyways. Or it could be, you know, I create an NPC and you could be like, hey, you guys get attacked again. Oh, fuck! Or we come across, you know, hey, there's a guy sat at a campfire. They're like, hey, you know what? They haven't had, you know, a guy hanging out playing a banjo, hanging out with his dog, maybe cooking some meat over the fire. He just wants to hang out and hear their story. Okay, we'll create that NPC and they get to run into him. You know, it could be all kinds of stuff. You know, it could be maybe
but like we're talking about here, has to be much more refined down, very simplified into something that would fit that.
Right. And I think that was why I would keep it so broad or general that the DM could tailor it to their campaign depending on which one it went to. Because if you create an NPC for mine, I might have a bunch of different options. You could pay $5 to create a beggar. You could pay $50 to create a merchant who comes into town and like starts selling stuff for everyone. I know people have been wanting a merchant. So like there would be different options for, say, Adis's The Dirty Journey. It would be now I keep wanting to call it Dirty Dreaming. If it was for that, like it would be maybe like $10, you could create a character that we pass by and like we interact with on our way. It's not a reoccurring character, so it's not like, hey, I paid $100 for him to show up for one episode and never be seen again. Cool, thanks. It'd be like, $10 and oh hey, my character got to be aired in episode whatever. Like that was fun.
Yeah.
I don't know. So that's the idea behind it. So as we wrap up here, general thoughts on audience involvement, engagement, interaction with a campaign, specifically relating to us. Round the table. Any closing thoughts on this?
I think it'll be nice if it's done right, but we've already discussed how to do it right. So I think it's a good idea.
Well, I'd say like a fine whiskey. All is good.
The only one on theme tonight.
Yeah.
In moderation.
Everything in moderation. Pickles?
This is fair.
I can't top that. I mean, like, I think the part that I have a hard time connecting fully with you on is that I am the one who is very focused and doing specified things, so I would do things very specific. And you're more open world, as we've discussed, and so I guess I have that trying to understand how it would correlate more properly to your style, when for me it's like, oh yeah, obviously you just do it very, very specific. I think it can work. I just I don't have,
for example,
the understanding of what they want to do.
If we had $5, you get to gift them a small item. I could say Corvika gets a letter from home, it's 5 silver.
Oh yeah,
in his inbox. Or in Strange Town and Golden Ridge, campaign DM'd by Mr. Pickles, it could be $5 for a small item, and you'll be like, okay, you guys, really need, we'll say, you get the example that water is scarce and we really need water. Okay, you guys find a small pond and you're able to get a quick drink because, it was gifted. You guys were able to find a little source of water to tide you over for the moment.
But there'd be times where maybe it's an in-town adventure and it's like, well, what item do we really need that we can't just buy?
Why would I go buy it if someone just gifted me? It saves me money. That's a great gift. Thanks. It could be, hey, if somebody's like, hey, I donated $5 and Pickles is like, okay, Mrs. Wolferson at the coffee shop, you guys are walking by and she's like, hey, if you guys want coffees, they're on the house. I'll give you some free coffees. And we'll be like, fuck yeah, Fred, let's go sit and have a coffee. Got a free coffee.
I mean, I wish Miss Wolferson was in a place where that would be okay, but
I know, me too.
I'm
just throwing out.
I get what you mean, but that's a poor, unfortunate soul.
Okay, maybe not Mrs. Wolferson, maybe the pizza dude. Forget his name. But maybe he's like, hey, you guys come on by sometime. Free pizza on me. I'd be like, fuck yeah, let's have our next little team meeting at the pizza place. We got a free pizza.
Slice on the house.
Yeah.
I mean, I get your sentiment, but I haven't been charging you guys for food at all.
I know, but it's the concept of
the
spirit players getting the player gifted us pizza.
I will work on ideas that are more tailored to what your needs are for my adventures, at least, because I know what your needs will likely be in my situation. You're open world. You never know what we're doing.
That's true. Literally until like 5 minutes before the game starts, and you guys decide.
That was my point. Something is it's easier for me to be like, I know exactly what the challenges are going forward. If you're, I'm the railroad.
That's something we should bring up in the next dirty discussion: is open world versus linear games. Because
being filthy.
Something I'm realizing with an open world is you guys are like, well, we could go here or here. As you're here in the middle, and I'm like, that's literally one end of the region to the other end of the region. You're just gonna go somewhere in there. Sure, I'll just prep for literally the entire region in the next hour. Cool.
That's open world.
Yeah,
and that's why I find so much peace in just making a specific adventure.
I love my open world. I'm so happy with it. So happy with multiple groups in it. Like, it makes us feel so alive, and like I'm loving what's happening with it. It's just I need to know what the fuck you guys plan on doing so that I can make sure it's prepped. Because like while I know the general idea of what's happening in each place, I don't have it like immediately prepped and ready. Like I didn't spend a year prior building the game. Like I built the framework, so I know like the framework of what's happening, but like there's a loading screen. Like if you guys go to enter an area, there's a loading screen as I put everything in place and add it to the foundry and all that, and you guys are just like, yeah, we don't know. We'll figure it out in game. And I'm like, that doesn't work for me. Because then we get in game and, okay, you guys finally tell me, and then I have to pause, and we sit there. I only have 3 hours, so we spend an hour of me just building out the next scene. That's not fair. So, something I'm realizing with the open world is that's a struggle that I have to figure out a way around. But that's an episode for another time. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name's Wrath. I'm joined by Adis. He's the voice character portrayal of a character known as Adarag. He also, that's in the King's Crossing game that we kind of touched on here during this episode. He also runs his own game. He is a brand new storyteller, first ever, and here on the channel on Drinks and Discussions, he runs Dirty Journey, one of the mini games we play here on the podcast. We're also joined by Fred above me here. He is the voice portrayal of characters such as Fred Verde from Strange Town Golden Ridge, the police detective. Also, Torvekic, the dwarven man-at-arms from King's Crossing. Lastly, we have Mr. Pickles. Mr. Pickles is the voice and portrayal of characters such as Morgan, a young angsty teen spirit who is a failed witch student. Failed witch student? That's what you would... Yeah. And other characters such as Grunkle, the ogre berserker, who is nothing but bunch of failed characters. Failed student, failed berserker, and
I'm working through my issues.
He's also the storyteller and mastermind behind the other campaign we've touched on during this episode called Strange Town Golden Ridge. You can find that entire series also on our YouTube. My name's Wrath. I run all of this stuff. I also run the campaign known as King's Crossing. You can find that entire series here on the YouTube, over on the YouTube if you're watching this live, whatever the case may be. I also play characters such as King over in Strange Town Golden Ridge. He is a fuck.
Last time you told me he was a paranoid cryptid hunter that was an ex bounty hunter.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, he's a fucked up dude. He's as much as we think Verde is fucked up, I feel like that King's right behind him. Like, I also play Solomon. Solomon is over on the Dirty Journey. He is basically an ancient undead guardian. Yeah,
who's traumatized.
Yeah, he's probably traumatized because he's tethered and connected and stuck with this angsty failed teenage witch. But anyways,
you played traumatized.
That's us. That's us. That's who we are and what we do. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been Drinks and Discussions, the RPG podcast. We will see you in the next episode. Later.
Adios.
Cheers.
I love you.